Hello, hello.
Hello, I'm Gerard.
And I'm Marc.
Welcome to Queens of the Pub.
Yeah, sorry we can't be with you at the moment because we're in Victoria, so we couldn't get up to take you through the show personally. But we thought we'd do a little cyber tour and take you through each image.
Yes, and just a little bit on the show is this a particular show, Queens of the Pub, took us 2 years to make. And the idea was we researched the history of the hotels in the inner city. And the hotels in the inner city used to be run by a lot of migrant, particularly women, who had the licenses because they wouldn't give men the licenses because they were considered to be drunks. So the women had the licenses, and then when all the hotels started struggling in the 70s because there was a few restaurants and other things opening, they started diversifying and having rock and roll nights there and gay and lesbian nights.
Pub nights,
which actually started a different scene in the hotels, which really paved the way for the modern inner city, which is nightclubs and restaurants and bars that we have today. So we collected all the bottle tops and memories from inner city hotels and made a royal exhibition, which is a bit of an ode to street fashion, Vivienne Westwood, and kind of where we are in the modern world, which is cleaning the planet and looking after our seas and oceans.
So yeah, hope you enjoy the work.
Welcome to the show. So the first image we'd like to introduce is titled Queen George.
Yep, and this was shot in the George Hotel,
which is the iconic hotel which used to have the Seaview Ballroom where all the rock and roll punk bands started out, like people like Nick Cave and Chrissy Amphlett and the Divinals and lots of famous international bands.
And I guess we actually shot this last in the sequence of shooting the series, and it's sort of a royal propaganda experiment, really. It's the way that the portrait, it's the way the Queen wants you to see her.
Herself.
Yeah, so you'll see the cape looks immaculate in this with all of its flattened bottle tops and chain mailed together, and you'll notice in her orb that she has, we've dropped in a little world to show her domination over the world.
And she's quite an androgynous queen, our queen, who is really the mix of both sexes, which is really the qualities you have to be a true queen.
The next image, I think, along the wall here that you'll be looking at is the Beached Queen.
And Beached Queen is the Queen's arrival to the place which we shot this on the Breakwater, which is in St Kilda facing the Esplanade Hotel. And the Esplanade Hotel was founded by Alfred Felton, who his biggest collection of, he brought to this date the biggest collection of art to the National Gallery. And so this is the idea of the Queen bringing Western art to Australia, and which is not necessarily the vision of the future of art. And so we're sort of questioning that, and the fact that she's wearing a recycled cape and is actually the female power which is cleaning the ocean, which is respecting the fact that we've polluted the ocean with so many plastics.
Yeah, and you'll notice that her skirt, her full skirt there is made out of garbage bags, and all the cape, obviously, and her amazing crown. The crown's actually been put together with stilo pads, so she's in all her regal royal attire.
Right.
She has her mop as well that she arrives with, and all of her court, her main people of court. You'll see that there's a priest in the image on the right-hand side, and then you'll see her ladies in waiting. And so they're all arriving with her on the foreshore.
All in recycled clothing, actually. That's all been made from old men's clothing. The women's dresses are from designers called Two Threads.
The next image you're seeing is the Queen's Coronation, which was shot on the staircase at the Esplanade Hotel in St Kilda. It's a pretty iconic staircase, so we decided we'd shoot there. It's an image that is obviously has the Queen in the centre with everybody vying for her attention. They're all leaning in or trying to get at her or trying to admire her, basically.
And so this is like one of our big group scenes where we've cast people for long periods of time beforehand and dressed them and given them characters to play on the actual day. So there's from young people to old people, all different sexualities, and we picked real characters from back in the day to inspire people to bring something to this image. And the idea of the staircase, I think, is fantastic because it reminds me of all the nightclubs you've ever been to, particularly Razor, where I worked once, where the staircase was a meeting place because so many people were there, you'd run into people up and down the staircase. Also. And then moving along to the next image, which we called Trashed Queen.
Yeah, which is still one of my favourites out of all of them. I love the way that she's so powerful and rising up out of the ocean. It looks as though that they've just literally had a shipwreck in the background and they've just washed up onto shore.
And it's referring to the bad state of the world, the bad state of the environment. Everything's in absolute chaos, and we need to be led by a new, maybe female influenced force towards a better future. I think more diverse future, most definitely. And we have these really beautiful sky, which shows the Mother Nature, and then our iconic cape and our beautiful characters lying on the rocks.
So you should now be in front of what we're calling Queen's Court, which is the main featured group scene from this particular show.
And this has all our performers in it. And normally when we have an exhibition, we have one image which has got all the characters in it. And this one's the Queen holding court, which is in the Gershwin room. We chose to set it, which is the iconic band room of the Esplanade Hotel, which really hasn't changed since it was built in 1850. It's still got these amazing interiors.
So you'll notice lots of different things going on within the picture, but mainly, of course, we've got our Queen who's in the centre, and she's got her handmaidens and her court all around her.
A very diverse court.
Yeah, and you'll notice that the big plastic sculptural shape coming off at the bar there, that was all created for the shoot, which is lots of different plastic cups all coming together, looking like it's exploding out of the back of the bar there.
It's still from that theme of her protecting the world and the leftover. We like the idea of leftover conversations as well, so that's why the idea is that they're cups all put together. And the theme came from a romantic painting called Springtime, which was a Venus de Milo character with all flowers exploding from her, and that's what this idea was, the thoughts of old memories, the way of saving the ocean. And Queen's Court is holding court in her triumphant palace.
The next image that you should be looking at, I guess, is Three Threaded Queens, which is the ladies in waiting for Her Majesty.
Which are basically punk girls, our punk girls, but in Victorian clothing, art pieces.
Yeah, so the dresses themselves we like to collaborate with lots of different designers when we're doing our work, and these particular three outfits were made by two women in Melbourne called Two Threads, and they basically deconstructed men's suiting and then reconstructed them again to create these medieval
art pieces.
Basically.
And so we like that idea of it's got that energy of either Victorian street women or punk girls owning their power in the streets. So we kind of shot it on the inside, and that hence all the bottle tops on the ground to give it that notion of back alleyways and who's in control. And Alexis is really the main girl in the centre, is an ode to one of those Susie and the Banshees kind of characters.
Yeah, we really love the wall in the background too. That was one of the reasons we thought we wanted to shoot something in front of this, because it's such an iconic piece of art that's still around, that's up at the Esplanade Hotel.
It hardly gets acknowledged, actually.
Yeah, and it worked perfectly for this as well.
Yeah, really good. And the three girls are pretty amazing, so please enjoy it.
The image that you should be looking at is Closet Queen.
The Closet Queen. And she's getting dressed by her two handmaidens, which is the notion of, we look back at those historical paintings of Queen Elizabeth putting on her armour to go into battle. And it's the idea of fashion is an armour. Wearing your armour before you go out to face your public is where this comes from. And her particular armour in this instance is a recycled cape of where the world should be being protected by this queen.
And we love the sort of the industrial nature of where we've shot this too, with all the piping and everything going on in the background, and the way your eye is drawn down the corridor towards the Queen is
private space.
Yeah.
which was walking the entrance to the Gershon room, which is the old punk entrance. And then when we were shooting it, we got granted access to shoot at the Esplanade Hotel by the current owners who recently renovated it because they loved the idea of what we were shooting. And this was the first shot we shot for the day. And we were repeatedly letting off the smoke machine in the background to create this drama of this mystery of the Queen coming out as this new vision. And guess what happened? The fire alarms were all set off. And that meant from the first shot, there was 4 fire trucks sitting outside the
Came
hotel.
rushing through.
The next shot is Screaming Queen, which is the Queen. You can see she's been coronated, and it's the power of the coronation with the crown going on her head and what she's about to take on the role. And we were pondering on the notion of the bad state of affairs of the world, or the recycling, or taking on the role of the power of taking on authority. And
So you'll notice that all her crown is all completely made of bottle caps, and all her necklaces are made of bottle caps, and her earrings are made of bottle caps. We've had the orb has been constructed out of champagne cages. We've made champagne cage ruffs. Everything that she had on was basically just pub refuse.
yeah, that was collected from all the inner city hotels, and we did that over 2 years, and then went through a pile of literally shit and washed it, and then colour matched things, and then decided what we could do with different things. And so the champagne cages got wired back onto each other to make orbs, to make the French collars, the ruffs, the neck pieces. Then all the bottle tops became the crowns. Everything was folded and bent. And we worked under the direction of a costume jeweler,
Danielle Zanetti.
and she helped us. We sat and worked together pretty much like working in a sheltered workshop, like weekly, sitting there and bashing things and gossiping, and it was very labour intensive. Similarly to the way couture fashion is made labour intensively as well. You know, you work under a skill from someone, but it's really just like a labour of love. And so that's where there's a fair bit of thinking behind what we actually did, and that's where she's screaming as well because of putting all the bottle tops together.
So the last image in the series is our Queens of the Pub, and this was taken from, inspired by an image that Vivienne Westwood created many years ago for her sex shop
In the late 70s.
in the late 70s, which is a black and white image of her and 3 others. I think it was Jordan, Catwoman, and Chrissy Hind, actually.
And herself.
And they all had sex, SEX, letters sort of written on their backsides. And we thought, we've always
Early
loved that
days of
image,
graphic
so
design.
we thought that we'd recreate it and using our Queens of the Pub.
And so, this was like a bit of an invitation into the world of Queens of the Pub. So we shot it against the walls, and they're flashing their bums, so it's cheeky. It's literally cheeky. Thank you for coming to the show.
Yeah, we hope you enjoyed it.
It was lots of fun to make.
Yeah, it was great fun. And as always, it's just one of our series. You'll see there's actually another one behind us, which is from Tango, which was our previous exhibition.
Mine no longer, The Dance of the Heart.
Yeah, so you can view that and all of our others. I mean, we've done so many over the years, but you can view any of them all on our website,
GerardandMarc.com.
which is GerardandMarc.
Correct.
.com.
Correctly spelled.
But thanks for coming.
A royal bow to you.